good. They're
Yeah.
sweet.
I think ladies are pretty darn good.
And yeah, I got my Pitt Pride on today.
I love that shirt.
Every time I wear my Pitt stuff, I think about, as many times as I see it in videos and stuff, I'm thinking about all the significance of the University of Pittsburgh School of Social Work, 21st floor, its world influence, power, and what it is and what it does for social work on a world level. And I just think about that. And then I think about the big cat energy and Genevieve going to be a dancer there, and we went and got pictures down there, and I just think about that energy. I just think about that energy, mothers, all of that knowledge going for mother's love. That's what I think about every time. Every single time. Shout out to that. Hey, is Josh coming in? Is Josh ready?
He is. He's not in yet, though.
Yeah, see, Shelly, I just blur my background. That's what I did because it was so bright. It's really bright. Holy moly today.
That's good. It's really bright here today, too. What's
But that's what
the
I
Schumann?
Hold on, I'll be right there.
Oh, okay.
Shelly, did you see the Schumann?
Yes, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay. Would you guys prefer I blur my background?
Maybe I'll put mine over. I'm gonna put mine like this. This is what I want to do because I want to put something in my background. I want to put something back there. Hey, we should all have something similar in our one thing that's similar in our background. And then we can I'll show you how we can create a trend in a really strange way together. Do you guys want to do something like that together?
Something like this.
Yeah,
What do you got? Show me. Oh,
It's like
show
the
me what you
greatest
got.
picture of all time.
Oh, Jamie, I'm so glad you did that. Hold on.
Okay, so something dancing?
Something.
Oh, I got something. I got something. I got something. Yes. Okay.
We all go running to grab toys. I love it.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, because that's what feels good, right? To me, it does.
I don't want to get Mr. Bledsoe's book out of here, so I have to find the spot. Okay.
Jamie, I think I already showed you, didn't I?
Let me see.
Oh,
yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, but I need to show Anthony.
Can you see this? Can you see this back here on the wall here or right here?
Yes.
Yep. Well, in theory, I could.
Well, whenever you talk, when the camera's on you, you'll be able to see it like closer up, like whenever you edit.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like whenever I'm talking, you'd be able to see this. If it was sitting here, would you be able to see it?
Up top. The top one.
Yeah.
There you go.
You'd be able to see that?
Yeah. I just saved her from duct tape.
Duct tape is my go-to for everything.
Everything.
I have a hole at the bottom of the barrel. I got duct tape.
Where I come from, they say if you can't duck it, beep it.
Oh my gosh, you're so weird. Hey, this is my stone from a stone circle somewhere on this earth.
Interesting. Hi,
Uh-huh.
Jen.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Hey, Ann,
Yes, ma'am.
do you remember the poster in the bathroom? The James Dean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tracked down the book.
Uh-uh.
Do you want to hear something crazy? When I went to go look for this book, it was going for like over $100, like
Mm-hmm.
155 pound for one, 189 over here. I go to Amazon and I found it for $6.49.
Guess what? Guess what? I can't wait. What I want to see on
Hmm.
it. Page 153. Of course.
Oh my
Let's what page 153 is. You you may or may not be disappointed. Actually, this is one of my favorites. I didn't even realize it was page 153.
Yes.
In a chair, in a rocking chair. Are you serious? Is she in a wooden chair? Is it a rocking chair?
Rocking chair.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
man.
Do you, hey Josh, thank you. Thank you for
Oh,
being
hey.
here. Oh
Grandma's
my,
rocking chair.
gr-
See the caption? He probably can't read the caption. The caption says Marilyn Monroe oozing joyous sex appeal.
grandma in the big chair is my childhood experience. Oh my gosh. And it was a rocking chair. I say it was like a throne.
That's
All right, I have to say this part. On the opposite, so Frank Worth is the gentleman who took all these pictures, and he was just friends, obviously, with all of these celebrities, but he never revealed any of these photos until after his death. His family found them, and then they put them together. In fact, he kept people from look at these. But this picture was found with a note that said, "Dear Frank, it was nice having you in me.
Watch the
Love."
door. Give me 1 minute.
You got to send me a picture of that. I wanna have a picture of that, please.
Can do. Everybody should have a picture of this if they want it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I said, what else were you saying, Shelly, before it got cut off? I muted.
What's that?
I didn't hear the rest of what you were saying.
You didn't hear the letter that was found with the
Yeah,
photo?
give it to us again. Come in hot with that.
Dear Frank, it was nice having you in me. Love, Marilyn.
My ex-mother-in-law's name is Marilyn. That's funny.
That's just that's interesting.
Marilyn with an I.
Josh, it's nice to meet you.
God.
That was
Welcome
awkward.
to our madness.
Oh, hold on, hold on. He's muted.
You got him muted? What?
Hold on. There you are. Okay.
Glad to be here.
Well, welcome here. Thank you for being here. We're going to do a little cross-pollination podcasting here. So we're glad to have you on. And of course, we're already getting you in. We're just starting to talk about real crazy things right off the bat. You just came right into it. You don't even get an option. So
I
thank
live
you
in
for
the
being
rabbit
here.
hole, so it's all right.
Yeah, I like your rabbit back there. Yeah, that's my kind of jam right there. So thank you for being here. And you kind of reached out to me and wanted to talk to me about coming on your podcast. And I said, sure, why don't we just do this cross-pollination one? And so you're here with Shelly and Jamie, and I guess we're gonna see where this goes. because we do we do rant. Ours just go tell us your story and we revibrate it, and we don't really have a set theme. We just want to hear about your experiences and talk about ours, and then you know what I guess one of the things that from my lens is I'm putting everything on the list. I like everything on the list, so put it on the list. And then like we want UFO disclosure from our government, and let's compare the list. So yeah, so thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
So give us a little bit about yourself.
All right. My name's Josh Miota. I'm the host of Lost Through the Rabbit Hole. I kind of started doing this because my family had some experiences as well as myself. Um, I grew up in Northeast Wisconsin, Sheboygan County, a little town called Cleveland. Uh, Spent a lot of time with my grandfather doing, the typical country boy stuff. He was an outdoorsman to the extreme. So
Mhm.
every day we were pretty much in the woods or by the river when I was with him. And he's had a lot of experiences himself. He kept seeing cigar-shaped UFOs his entire life. To the point he's
Mhm.
even contemplated shooting at them. Just,
Mhm.
it's never leave him alone. Um, One day when we were camping, I had a pretty extreme encounter. Uh, my mom and my grandmother went berry picking, and my grandfather took me deep into the woods to show me some survivor skills. I was a real little guy, so like maybe 3 or 4, but I have like I guess what you'd call a screen memory there. I just remember running, him picking me up and running and being afraid, and he was not the type of guy that was ever really showed fear. Uh, his grandfather was a boxer. He was extreme outdoorsman, really into Native American culture, like pretty tough dude. And he grew up in like the John Wayne era, so one of those type of country guys.
Mhm.
uh, so yeah, that's one of my first early experiences.
Mhm.
Um, I had a bunch of times where I went and told my mom random stuff about the stars and planets, and she was like, "Oh, he must have learned that from Godzilla." That's what she wrote it off as. Um, where
What do
to
you when it comes to these experiences, there's a thing that initially happens and there's a thing that brought you to, I'm going to tell the message. And somewhere in that message is, was this a good experience for all of humanity, or was this a bad experience for all of humanity? And at least from my perspective, it appears like you're trying to say, hey, there's something out there for all of humanity, and there might be something very positive from it, and from and I'm kind of curious, is that what has gone on with you, or how is it, how are you teaching people now? How did you get there?
um I I guess to jump further in my story, in my 20s, I became a ghost hunter. I kind of always did when I was a teenager. We'd go to haunted
Mm,
places. We weren't supposed to, but rebellious teens. And then in my 20s, when I was like 21, I was really into the punk rock stage. And
mhm.
somebody came up to me in a bar and was like, "I really love your hair." I was like an older dude, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And he's like, "Hey, what do you think about paranormal?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've always been really interested in it." And he's like, "We love your hair and we love how you dress. What do you like to be a paranormal investigator? I live in Illinois. Would come pick you up." And I was like, "Yeah, I have buddies like hair like this too." So I grabbed my best friend, and we ended up working for a little company called IPI, and yeah, learned how to become investigators in a little town called Galena. A lot of history there, a lot of amazing
Right,
history.
right.
Um, where Abraham Lincoln had
Mhm.
his little war room during the Civil War. So I got to learn about a bunch of historic sites.
Right.
But further on, I started talking about my family's experiences with them, and they laughed at me. And it was like I cut all ties. My friend quit too because it's like we're gonna prove that there's ghosts, but you're really gonna like shit on my experience.
Right,
Like
right, right.
you're really like we're proving that there's ghosts and like energy
Right.
doesn't dissipate, but you don't believe there's anything in the stars above us. How is that even like logically? I can't work for you anymore because now I think you're insane.
Mhm.
So uh
I
later
was
down
gonna
the line, oh sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it sounded like you had my dream job there for a little while, or one of my dream
Yeah,
jobs.
didn't pay the best, but it was more or less come stay at a place and film.
Right.
But you
And go
valuable
ahead,
skill.
Scott.
I mean, you gained some really awesome skills out of that time. So it wasn't like
Yeah,
time thing. It was like exactly maybe just and maybe, maybe they had that perspective because you were supposed to move on elsewhere.
yeah. It was different too because they used mediums as well, so that like brought me into a whole new world.
Well, Josh, this is very fascinating to me. I think you and I may have talked a little bit about this, but you know, my childhood experiences, I associate them with weird dreams and ghosts. Okay, the little blue aura thing that came into my room, I just associated that with ghosts. So my whole life, I never cared anything about aliens or UFOs or any of that stupid stuff. And I was always interested in the paranormal, ghost like stuff. In fact, I used to watch it. And speaking of the mediums, um, my ex-partner Lindsay in particular, she's the one that first kind of understood it with me. But like sometimes I would feel things watching the shows and my eyes would drip, right? And they would just I get this feeling inside. It's the same feeling that I get from the UFO, right?
Yeah,
And I'm talking like paranormal uh ghost hunter type stuff with mediums and then having that feeling that I felt with Shelly, that I feel with Jamie. He's this something that is the other part of us that's real. I think is this intersection of the paranormal UFO thing is that this is a very good topic.
yes, I agree. I'm very. We're not even in the rabbit hole yet. So like this is just the very beginning of Josh's like childhood.
So
Uh,
Yes.
uh,
let's go.
flash forward to about right after COVID. I'm married. I have children. Um, I make friends with this guy who says he had a UFO crash in his backyard. I don't want to talk too much about him because we're like split on separate ways, but we had a show together where we interviewed abductees. Um, so I made all these contacts with him and I started doing my own show and I started still kept interviewing abductees and I kept getting the same information from everybody. Mainly everybody's seeing the grays and it's all the same messages. You need to chill out about how you're treating your planet, otherwise you're going to be like us floating around looking for something. Warning everybody, you need to take care of it. It's a living thing just like you, and you need to get back in that relationship with it. And that nuclear energy, we're going to take that away from you if you keep blowing each other up with it.
Yeah, that seems so you have some experience. This is kind of, what I've kind of me having the nuclear background in the military. That's what got me excited about UFOs. That seeing news and hearing what they're like intersect. Why would they be intersecting with like nuclear silos and places, and then just understanding that anything that has to do with it, the processing of it, the plants, Fukushima, in Japan, right? And you probably already know this. They're intimately interested in that.
Best way the people have told me that these beings have described it as, imagine all of reality as a bunch of rivers next to each other. And when you throw a nuclear bomb at each other, it's like throwing a piece of waterproof dynamite in that river, and it affects us all.
Yes. Yes. And that overlays with, the scientists who have written the book with, I think her name is Paula, the medium Paula. I can't remember her first name. She has written a book called Trinity with Dr. Jacques Vallée. Dr. Jacques Vallée was at DARPA and Stanford creating the internet and also AI. With consciousness. And so that this intersects. Why does that match with this? Because he writes in that book that our discovery of the UFOs came at a detonation pre-war, but testing, that we actually blew some things out of one of these streams that you're talking about, a part of consciousness that we just don't see, and it made things that were not
Absolutely.
physical into physical world right there in front of like generals and people's eyes right there that day. And
that's why I would describe it as, they looked at us and they were like, the children's figured out where the firecrackers are. Oh no.
and that is a very, yes. And yeah, because that overlays with like exactly what we were doing with the nuke detonations and testing, and specifically what was happening in North Korea in 1951. In North Korea, 1951, 1952, they were amassing hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers, and we were going to do more damage with this nuke stuff on other humans. And then we had this flap, the one that I don't know if you've heard me talk about it, but like this flap over Washington, D.C. in 1952. It's on the National Archive where they're talking about the discs over the Pentagon. Well,
Yeah.
that's when the intervention, I think, began. And that's because of this, maybe this stream or this, I guess, the sixth sense consciousness, this aura around us, this other area that apparently we can measure now.
The
I
space
honestly
in
think
between.
it's I think it's,
Asha.
sorry. I was gonna say, I think honestly that's a big part of why we're starting to wake up, because we're like, hey, they need to learn to be more peaceful than violent.
Yes. And go ahead, Shelly, say what you're going to say too, please.
I think it affects the spaces in between things, the fascia of our realities, essentially. And like zips it. And just like fascia in the body, like when you're wiggling your big toe, that signal is sent throughout your body so quickly to make all of these little minuscule adjustments so that big toe can just do this. And imagine sending something into a system like that had the capability of unzipping it. Because I think what it is.
Yeah.
It causes the thing that holds things together and apart is what's being affected, I think.
So I think about it in terms of that as well. I'm not exactly sure. Well, I think that as we start to think about like, what is that? Okay, if it's knocking things out of the non-physical world into the physical world, well, then what are things in the what are the things in the physical world that's going the opposite way? Because if it's like this equal and opposite, have you thought about this? If you've had other podcasts about stuff like this, you might have some good ideas about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that I think it's changing stuff on like a quantum level that is affecting other realities. I'm a firm believer in the string theory. So I think that's like what I meant kind of when I said with the like throwing a stick of dynamite into a river and there's other rivers next to it, that splash is happening. It's changing things not just for us, but for everybody else. And I almost wonder if that's kind of like where deja vu comes from. And what does they call it? When like the Bernstein Bear effect.
Oh, the Mandela.
Yeah, Mandela effect.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, and and what I think is important in the context of the conversation, at least from my perspective, is that it is there's two things. Government disclosure is happening. It is happening because something spiritual is happening. But what may be different in this thing that's happening right now is that we have tools to measure what we've only ever got to observe happening, have no idea why it's happening. And now we have so many tools that literally can see things physically through a glass, but like we've perfected that into like seeing things in so many different arrays, like through radar, sonar, different ways to track energy. We have so many lenses now that if we start to awaken to wait, our government is showing us this lens, and now they're showing us this lens. How long did it take for the world population and in particular the world religions to accept what they were seeing through a telescope? And then you consider that it was like a world religion cycle may have kept it secreted, but then you go, who has the world's leading telescope astronomy section now?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they do that? And so in my journey, I'm also telling people, oh, by the way, the Catholic Church is trying to give disclosure too. They really are. Like,
Yes.
can you see? Everybody's in a really hard position. Everybody's in between a rock and a hard place going on right now.
I actually love what pretty much the Catholic Church said. They're like, there isn't or there isn't, there is or there isn't something, and we have no statement. That's basically what they said.
Right. It's so they've already diffused their own power, which is indicative of universal truth. Universal truth diffuses the power. It says we're all God-mans. We are all here equally. We're all here for this weird ass experience. Some of you, Shelly, took some really weird exits. And I've taken yes, you've taken some strange and like the rabbit hole here that we're in right now that we're experiencing is some more strange exits, right?
Right.
And maybe we're the ones that understand we could just go into the streams, other people's streams, other streams, and that's pretty darn cool, man.
Well,
Right. There's so many other levels. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead, you go. Josh, please. I
So,
want
yeah,
to get your story.
awesome.
The
There's so many other things that go into it too, because then I've talked to a lot of people who are like Bigfoot hunters and they have some really like good evidence. And that's starting to point that they might be more spiritually advanced than us and be the first beings here. And a lot of the UFO sightings happen correlate with them.
Yes, and what I know in my own experience, I have a very real, some sort of large footprint experience while I hunting in high school with my best friend Mike Finley, and he remembers this too. We still don't have an explanation for that, right? But it's still one of those things in my own life of like, well, now I've had all of these like UFO experiences. And then I've literally heard people like you over and over talk about the UFO and the Bigfoot. And then I hear people talk about the UFO and the owl. And so there just must be something to this because I've also heard people saying on this on like, you know, on the military side and the nuke side saying, hey, imagine seeing Bigfoot like on nuke vessels and stuff, or in nuke facilities, right? Then wouldn't that be strange? And that would kind of overlay with what you're saying. It's like maybe a higher spiritual being.
Mhm. I almost think they can phase in and out of our reality. Some sort
Yeah,
of
yeah, and maybe there's something yeah, maybe there's just something like, you know how like when you're like in meditation or in your zone, and it's almost like you're in another zone, right? Maybe like for other spiritual things, like if you're in your walking, you're just walking through the wilderness, you're in the subconscious zone, and then all of a sudden now you're in the physical zone because you're zoned out, and when you zone out you go into the it's like stuff like, I think about like stuff like that. If it's like this as above so below, well, how do you if they're have ability to be on the other side, and sometimes they're over here, maybe they're over here all the time. I really don't even know what that is. I want to find out, actually. I want to know why the forensic center in Ashland, Oregon, with their museum has something about Bigfoot stuff. I want to know why that overlays with ancient indigenous mythologies on every continent. I don't really care about all of the argument of whether it is or not. I think it's beautiful why we would write about it for
right.
so many mythologies.
Leif Erikson, when he was here, wrote about them as well. That his ship, they sailed past them and it was terrifying. They thought there was some American troll.
See, I don't even know that. That's pretty darn cool if you really think about it. Yeah, and I think I think on it, isn't it that the Columbus on the Mayflower voyage, that they have a UFO documented on the Mayflower
Yes,
voyage. So it's
believe
like,
so.
yeah, we have official people that we kind of recognize as like some people that may be in the know have seen things over and over again. Wow, that's crazy.
So
Leif
in the,
Erikson.
does he talk at all about their coat, their hair? Because I find it very interesting that we consider hair to be sort of like antennas, and so a form of technology. These guys are like covered in potential antennas that are technology. I mean, it seems to me that maybe it could make one invisible if you knew how to use that technology, like literally look right through you by changing your frequency of your antennas, where the organism looking at you literally can't register you because you're out of their frequency. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. I almost think this is what they do with like their whole villages. The children, I think they just mask like a whole big area. And
Yeah.
when people see them, they're like, it's usually they're throwing stones and stuff. They're probably just like, hey, go away.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind of
mean,
what I think too. I do think that. And I wouldn't even be surprised if there's not even multiple types.
Yes, with being in Wisconsin, our state cryptid is the werewolf. I don't know if any of you've heard of Linda Gottfried. She's got extensive research into this. She was a news reporter who reported on this, and then she's like, "Oh my God, there's something really here," and like dedicated the rest of her life. It correlates with like the Michigan Dogman stories, and I've
Mhm.
had a couple people on about that too, and I think there's something there with that as well.
well,
There,
I
there,
think
there is.
regardless of whether or not there is something there, the fact that we give it the attention and then give it the attention and over generations and years and years and years long, it comes into being. It is there. It is there now.
Fun fact too, the Greeks talk about the werewolves competing with them in the original Olympics.
Mhm. And so my journey is, well, then the Greeks know about it and the indigenous know about it. So and it's unfolding now. It's unfolding now where we have technology we've never had before. And to me, it's like telling, I feel like when I tell people this, it's like, hey, we have a very specific, very small, maybe timeline that we may all have all of this technology to actually like, hey, if every one of you could go look at Dogman in 3 other languages, go search engines in other languages for Dogman. Can you bring back stuff that is not Americanized, that is not, and I know I did this in my own journey. I had, search engines set up for other languages just to search things because I wanted to try to get out of like my lens. And what I found out is like, just like what you're saying is this, you never stop finding Dogman. You can write it everywhere. You can read about it everywhere
Hey,
in every
and it's
language.
not. It's also nuts. It's not the only thing. It's the same. There's little people. There's stories of little people everywhere.
Yes, and you saw me just highlight the Pedro Mountains little people. There's like archaeology there, and it's like, okay, people, now they're in crisscross applesauce, just like the one in Mexico, just like the one in Argentina and South America. Why are they all crisscross applesauce, and why are they all why are okay, what's going on here? Why are we mummifying them? What's going on here, people? That's what we have to get to, not like everybody making it up. Let's just get to what's going on.
Right.
Well, we all know what's going on. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we do. It's unfolding right in front of us. Uh, we all know it's real. The more that we know that it's real, it actually shows itself. It's more. The more that we know that it's real and it's not here to hurt us, it shows itself more, I guess. From what I've read in mythologies, um, that's why they have these like ancient indigenous ceremonies and stuff to call them in during hard times, oftentimes. So, have you learned about any of that through like indigenous lenses or anything?
Yeah, like I said, my grandfather was extremely into it. He swears we're part native. I don't know. I'm too scared to get a blood test too. I just don't feel like somebody should have a sample of my DNA. But just with enough I've learned through like conspiracy, like yeah. But yeah, so I mean I've heard a lot of stories about the Great Spirit and how the crow stole fire for us and
Hmm.
but there's also a lot of stories about them coming down from the stars and star brothers. And the thing that's crazy about it is they seem to know a lot more. The indigenous people seem to know a lot more about the constellations way before anybody else did.
Yeah, it seems like there's some knowledge of constellations before what we know now. Like there seems to be some ancient knowledge of like, well, wait a second, they didn't even have telescopes. What's going on here, people? Because they can't see what's out in like the Sirius star system. Okay. And so there's Celtic stuff, there's Hopi stuff, there's Egyptian stuff, there's ancient Sumerian stuff, all about the star Sirius. And sometimes 6 stars, sometimes 7, because it's the seventh star is really faint, right? And you know, that overlays with the Lakota very quickly. It overlays with Egyptian mythology really quickly. And to me, I'm just like a common sense person, like, well, we're living in that time period now and it's unfolding. So how do where the what the heck is the dog man? If it's happening now, like where is that in all of these ancient, and how does it overlay with like what is happening with lights in the sky? Like it's just like kind of really
Mhm.
strange. I
You know, so
sometimes go ahead.
Sometimes I wonder if it isn't similar, you know, it's a similar pattern to the pattern that we see in seasons. We know that there's going to be a spring, a relative summer, a relative fall, a relative winter, but each year it's subtly different. You can't anticipate exactly when spring's going to start, exactly how much rain you will or will not receive. You just know some key ingredients, but how it comes together each year is different. And so I imagine that these cycles are sort of like that too, that you have archetypal energies that have the humans have recognized as we continuously go through these cycles, have taken note of them. But I think where they are and when they're supposed to do whatever, I think that's always subtly different, and it unfolds as we walk through this cycle together.
Absolutely. Do you think too that we kind of manipulate it to like a point like it affects everything else? I mean, we do know like with cloud seeding, for example. I always wonder too, like, is that why our summer is so much later than it was before? Why, like Wisconsin, for instance, we're not getting snow anymore in our winters. And when I was a child, there used to be massive amounts of it. My dad's like an avid snowmobiler, and he hasn't been able to do it probably for the past 5 years. He usually goes to Michigan, and this year Michigan didn't even open up because they barely had any.
Well, um, I think in terms of that is one of the one of the key elements into understanding that UFO disclosure is happening is understanding some of the documents that were made top secret. And one of those would be Adam and Eve, the story of cataclysm. It's a geology book. And this geology book kind of overlays with what the backdrop of, some of the families that have talked about some of the things that we were talking about that like have this message of like, hey, you need to all stop, change course, and move towards this other reality of like there's more to this than just nuclear technology, right? And so one of the things that I think about that is that there's probably going to be a time when we start to come together and try to direct the energy that is well, I guess the reality of the situation is understanding that throughout time it is chaotic, and sometimes we figure out how to collate that energy. Sometimes we do. What I'm trying to articulate how it's been made in history, like the Nuremberg 1461 woodcuts, right? They're in Switzerland, but they're woodcuts. They're like when we were burning witches in Salem, Massachusetts, that ancient Stonehenge thing is, stone circle is. They were writing a UFO woodcut of a news report, and when you see that there's like a whole bunch of different ones, just like all kinds of different things, like what it's like it's like a psychedelic painting. It's like a tie-dye shirt, right? Like what the hell are these people when the world religion is all like this and just like straight, you got to stand up, sit down, and do things a certain way, or you're going to be. Why are they writing like a psychedelic thing about something in the sky?
Right.
And what does that really mean? That's what we're talking about. We're living in the site by understanding that it's like UFOs, it's ghosts, it's all of these different realms. And oh, by the way, our government is, I mean, like I don't know if you've heard Gary Nolan from Stanford talk about on podcast. He's like, what are people going to do when they understand that I'm dealing with woo-woo in my work, like woo-woo in technology, like because he's got the most advanced stuff, right? That's going to be really strange when we can consume that. I can consume it. I'm consuming it. I've already consumed it. The thing that we are in fear of is already in a completely overlaid, a completely the technology that flies that people just think come from space, Sirius or whatever. They live underneath the sea. That's what's being shown. And that's like part of our connection is like, okay, there's things under the sea too. I'm like, okay, the Dogon tribe said that. There's people like you who say like there's the Bigfoot that goes in and out. So it's like everything.
Because I think that's the nature of what we're dealing with here isn't just UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptids, ghosts, phenomenon. What we're dealing with is our consciousness in this reality, the nature of what this reality really is, in the intersection between the two, the marriage of the two. And that's what I feel is the real disclosure. The rest of these components that we're talking about is stuff that we will be able to interact with, and we'll be able, quite frankly, to understand it a lot better once we accept and understand that our reality is not what we thought it was, and that our consciousness isn't what we thought it was, and that they are disconnected and they're trying to figure out how to come back together. And then we can start talking, and then we can start playing with our friends, Bigfoot and aliens and unicorns and little people and giants and all of it. We will have access to all of that because all of these realms do exist. And that's why they keep popping up, because they really do exist. We just need to get our shit together before we can play with the rest of the game. At least that's my.
Raise your consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And my part in this role is that I've I guess because of the awakening and you know the role that we're all awakening into roles of like, wait a second, apparently I know something. What could I help with this value, right? What part can I play without being obtrusive? What part can I play with being the most natural human person that I can be? All right. And for me, it's just like, well, the universe, I've died at least once very significantly, but probably more. And then I have all of this education and drive to advocate for veterans, but what everybody already knows, I thought I was just going to be advocating for veteran even when I started doing this, because I using that as a mask too. I was using that as a mask, as like, I'll just use my professional credentials and my military experiences to help bring this truth. But at the end of the day, what I found out is what we're all talking about is we just want truth for everyone, because perhaps there may be something really super hidden that our government really knows about, and then it just makes us be it makes us all be a-holes to each other for no reason, because it's like we live in a whole like I think, and what if we didn't have to think? What if we just like, there might be a reality of like, oh shit, it's weird. Like, what if that was the real reality?
Right.
Which it is. I mean, that is it. We're making comedy of it because that's the only thing you can do with it.
Josh, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Were you the individual? Correct me if I'm wrong. Can you sometimes see, for the lack of a better word, drones in your peripheral vision?
I have seen stuff in the sky, like my grandfather. One of the craziest things I saw was on my birthday, because I saw what I thought was a shooting star by a star, but then it emitted a blue beam, and that star that it was by was no more. and then it like went a different direction and like one phased out.
And if you can, could you share that date with us if you want to?
I want to say that it was September 3rd. Like 3 years ago.
September 3rd, 3 years ago. Okay. So it would be a 9/3. Okay, well, I'm just, did you have any other experiences before that? I mean, it's very significant, obviously. It's on a birthday. Come on now, right? What does it mean?
Right?
What does it mean, bro? Like, come on, give us the goods.
I was like, somebody's throwing down up there.
I think
Or
it's
maybe it
connected
was
to
just
you.
could be. I've had a lot of dreams about a lot of crazy stuff that are pretty vivid. Um, I guess we'll talk about it. This
Yes.
one is like
Thank you.
completely off the wall. I talked about it on Typical
Thank you.
Skeptic. So like, if I'm crazy, if you think I'm crazy, I'm that type of guy. I'm just lay all the cards down. I was
Well,
having this dream where I was.
hey, Josh, just so you know, hey, we want you to talk about the crazy because it gets everything on a very real scale. We're just going to be like, well, this guy had this experience, and guess where you can find it in the CIA files? The CIA's freaking following people like this. So we ought to talk about it. And by the way, the indigenous people think people that talk about these things are magical. So that's why we talk about it. So I thank you for just getting into it. I think it's amazing that you allow yourself to be vulnerable in front of us all, just like we're all doing.
All
So
right,
thank
it's a
you.
wild story. So,
Buckle up. Jamie, are you
all
ready?
right,
You're being quiet.
I brought snacks.
I was just
okay.
thinking I want a snack. I'm excited.
All right, this happened about a year ago. I was having like a normal dream with my kids, just playing in the yard, except like on the street, there's like a dude in a cloak just watching us. And I walked up to him, and he looked like all his face all twisted up, and he looked like a vampire. And he was surprised that I saw him, and then he was all like threatening me, and I hit him, and like he spit out his fangs and was like really, really confused, and like ran off. And then I kept having dreams about these things coming after me, and then went on for about a year. I heard I got so crazy into it that I actually joined an MMA gym because I was like, well, muscle memory is probably a thing with astral. So I started doing that until I got hurt my back and I need surgery. But yeah, I was having dreams about vampires. And in one dream, I had Grays come and get them off of me. That was wild. And they were not like how people describe them. They looked like children. They looked like they're dressed in combat gear, and they looked like they acted like little Marines. That dream was wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so what did you interpret it as? Do you have an interpretation of it?
I don't know. It honestly felt like the whole world was watching when I was fighting these things. I don't know if there's some sort of threat coming or some sort of thing in my life where I'm supposed to help everybody. I don't know.
I think it's that's one of the things I like to ask is like, well, these people have these experiences. Some of them get like a very real something has been told to them or something they feel. So, or maybe sometimes I think part of my role is helping bring that out of people, of at least stimulating the question of like, hey, perhaps if you just start thinking about the esoteric symbology, the things happening the day before, the things happening the day after, maybe there's some things going on, right? Like that are showing you more omens than just that.
I have some questions. Um, we're so these were coming to you nightly,
Yes.
and so did it make it difficult for you to fall asleep? Did you have any sort of dread about going to sleep as a result?
No, like they seen me as the threat, it felt like. Like
Gotcha.
I wasn't afraid of them at all.
Go into sleep kind of.
Yeah, they kept calling me the one that cannot be. It's
All
the
right.
thing
And
that they all said.
the day that the dream where they came and helped you, what felt different about that dream?
I felt like they were gonna kill me in my dream.
Okay. So they came to your
Yep.
assistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the wild part about it is I did a spontaneous midnight live the other night, and I had a medium come in, and my grandfather like talked to her and told me a bunch of stuff that like reassured me that I have seen grays and
Yeah.
like they keep following my dreams, and it was pretty crazy.
Do you what are your feelings on what do you think happens to you or what you think you're doing when you go to sleep at night?
I think you go to like astral realm. I think most people can.
Do you feel like you have a specific task or a specific job that you do? Or like a
Um,
specific, almost like a career track? Do you have like a career track in the astral?
I don't know. I felt like I was the male version of Buffy for a while.
Right on. The place that you would go to, would it always like the environment, the
Hey,
landscape?
I hold on here.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. Shout out to Buffy. Continue on.
I love Buffy.
I know, me too. It was a good show.
It was a great show. It was a great show. Made me cry all the time. Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Um, the when you go to battle, is it always the same field? Is it a is it always the same place or is it a different location? Are you going to them or coming to you?
They're usually coming to me, and it's just like around my actual town here, Green Bay.
Okay.
But the one with the Grays, like it was like a last stand sort of feel.
Okay. And what anything since?
Um, I've had some weird dreams where like that after that dream, I had another dream where I was like in a tank and like I talked to like a lady. It sounds crazy that looked like a wizard. Yeah, but it wasn't like how anybody described her. She was like seemed really, really caring, like almost like a guardian type. And I asked her, "Is this real or is what was my regular life real?" And she's like, "You are where you need to be when you need to be." And I woke up.
Yep. She's right. Right on. So where do you feel like you are now in your journey, Josh? I mean, um, yeah, where do you feel like you are in your journey now?
Um, like I said, I kind of stopped doing Lost through the Rabbit Hole for a year, and then I got hurt. And then my friends from England were like, "You need to come on our show," and they made pretty much made me a permanent host. And then I started doing my own stuff. So I feel like, yeah, I have a message to put out.
Do,
Try
do
to
you know
unsolve.
do you know what your message is?
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to solve some of the mysteries that we're not supposed to solve. That was one of the things my grandfather and grandmother and best friend who passed, who I did that ghost hunting stuff with. There was like I had like a really crazy experience the other day. I just live with this comedian. Not the first time she's talked to me either, but yeah, they pretty much said, "Be careful what you all learn, because man's not supposed to learn everything." And I was like, "Yeah, we'll tell them you know me."
I yes, I know that one well. I've watched I have a friend that I've watched uh very good at tearing apart the mysteries of the universe and very good at being able to walk in the astral. And he kept digging and digging, and I was like, man, they're mysteries for a reason. And you know, we're supposed to have some of them. It's the juicy juice that gives us the urge for curiosity and whatnot, and that's part of like a big part of our magic, the big part of our purpose.
The other thing my grandfather said to me too, which I'm still trying to figure out, is remember seeing the shining ones.
Yeah.
Which
You wanted to say something, Anthony?
Well, the shining ones is exactly what I interpret of what in my childhood journey that I was the blue aura ones, and then to interpret that is that is the same thing that I would ask to see in the sky in my own journey. But I think another piece of my journey in when thinking about this, Shelly, we talk about the lady on the chair. You remember we were just talking about that page 153 of that book that you have, the Marilyn Monroe on the chair, the rocking chair. That lady, she told me to use my imagination. And when we have this conversation about my imagination, it's about, yeah, you have to show people these archetypal energies that seem to come around in as many ways as possible so that they have as much idea about what you can do with the energy. And this piece about my imagination of bringing it beyond the cookie cutters. Okay, here's all of the cookie cutters throughout all of the word of mouth mythologies throughout the earth. Here's what they've all said happens on these cycles with these gods or gods energies. And here's what can apparently be done. And then you go, here's the lens of what I am and who I am. What can I do? What can Josh do with his lens? What can his Care Bear? He's got his Care Bear lens on. What Care Bear can he do? And what Care Bear abilities do I have? And can we get all of our Care Bear energy together? And I think one of the things that we're all intersecting with is all of these mythologies say that that everybody, they have hidden knowledges. I believe my role in my hidden energy, archetypal energy, is to become unhidden. And with becoming unhidden, it unhides all of those and all of these mythologies and word of mouth that make it that humans are not to have it all. What if I was to say we're at this because of technology, we're all getting it. We're all going to get it. We're all going to get it because we're all going to understand that we can all Google search and have the same knowledge. And then what would happen if we had a mass ascension? I just think about that. I think about not an individual ascension. I think about a mass ascension, like everybody's at the drain hole ascension. That's what I think about in my own journey and trying to figure out my own piece of this.
But here's
Like,
the thing.
I think we're all awakening.
The thing with ascension though is that as and enlightenment and any kind of goal setting is that there will always be more. It's exponential, and you know, we're not going to know it all. We're not supposed to. What would be the damn point?
Yes, that's it. Is understanding that there's a hand pulling you through the hole, a hand, then you're holding on somebody's hand as you're going through, and like, who's got your hand on the other side of the hole, and where does this thing actually end? Does anybody know where it ends and begins? No. There's something with 26,000 year cycles on every continent in all of the major world. We're finding out that little old Aztecs and little old is so much bigger because they're doing this LiDAR stuff. Archaeologists are freaking, they're on fire. They are mind blowing. They're finding things that it's much bigger than just this little, no, it's huge industrious populations who knew how to cultivate soil in ways that we can't even do it now.
We just had a breakthrough a couple days ago here. They found a canoe that's over 2,000 years old in like Michigan, a couple of them next to each other,
Yes.
and they're like, "Whoa, who are these?" Well, because nobody was supposed to be here.
That's one of
Yeah.
the disclosure is going to be that we're going to be learning about our reality, which is our history, is a big fat lie, and that we have done this over and over and over and over. We keep forgetting and remembering, forgetting and remembering, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, birthing, dying. Big old fat repeating pattern.
Absolutely.
And so if it's a repeating pattern, then I would say that it would be important for me to tell in my own journey, just like we do that. In my own journey, in my visions and dreams, I've already been shown that this next phase, this really strange technology phase that's maybe shown through out of place artifacts in archaeology, the people who have NDAs and out of place artifacts for the United States government. So archaeologists on ground find something, and so maybe it's things that, like you're just talking, we have technology finding 4,000-year-old artifacts, but what if those 4,000-year-old artifacts had a UFO right next to it or something? And what if there were like probably stuff like that in the CIA or in our government, and maybe in the 53 square miles at the Vatican also? It's probably our job. I guess it's our job. It is our job to bring it out. We're bringing it out. We have that inside of us. I know it's funny because when I ask you about your individual, like what do you feel from your dreams, is like I feel something from your dreams when you tell it to me. So I think that's weird. It's like a tarot card or something. It's like you're
Right?
telling me a story, and then I'm like, you're relaying a message to me. Do you see? It's like that's what I feel from it when we're doing these.
I
I
know
don't
that
know if
you
you feel the same.
I know that you had like um you have this investigative background, so that you naturally we have, I think all of us have that like hardcore skeptic in us, or we're like, give us the proof, give us the proof. But do you work on an intuitive level quite a bit too?
Yeah. I mean, you have to. I mean, a lot of it too, when I talk to experiencers, you feel what they say. That's what makes it
Mm.
believable. And you can tell when somebody's bullshitting you because they don't feel anything. It's not genuine.
Yeah, yeah.
The worst is when somebody experiences something and they're like, "This is so meaningful to me. It's this UFO," and you're like, "Oh my God, you saw Starlink."
Yeah,
Yeah, they're just all linking together over my house. I'm like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. How, what is your earliest memory of phenomenon? Um, Other than that flashbulb one that you told us at 4, did you continue to have experiences through your childhood?
Here and there. My mom was kind of a really witchy lady, so like she was always kind of into it. So I always had the books to read, and
Mhm.
I've had some ghost experiences. One of my worst ones is I got like pushed into a river. That was my most intense one, and then my most meaningful one was in Galena. I was at this place that became a chocolate factory, but it was haunting was by a child, and we figured out who she was with the historical society and with the media. But she had a fascination with me, and it felt like I was sitting in a chair and I could feel her crawling on me like a toddler would, but it
Mhm.
felt cold.
Were you
Mm.
uncomfortable, or how did you feel about that?
I was like just so in awe of it happening.
Yeah. So more curious than anything else.
Yeah,
Right on.
it was exciting, to tell you the truth. I felt like a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
You've had UFO experiences with your family?
My grandfather had one with his children, which I heard about. Um, he threatened to shoot it, which was hilarious. He's like, I'm 16, these damn things. Marianne, I'm getting my gun. And she's like, you don't know what you're doing. Get back in the house. And my uncles remember seeing it, my mom remembers seeing it. They both talked about it. Um, I saw that one that I talked about shoot something down.
That's
Mm.
interesting. That's interesting that you were able to observe that.
Yeah. And I was like, I had my phone, but I was just so in awe, like I wouldn't have. I still wonder,
Well,
like, what could that have been, or who was that?
It's kind of well, what did you feel when you saw it? Did you feel like it was from here, or did you feel like it was from someplace else, what you were observing?
The way it moved. And I know, like the TR-3B, it was like nothing like what we should have or shouldn't have. Uh,
Outside of the
it looked,
physical, did you
uh,
have an initial like feel, like in the gut or in your chest, like an emotional reaction to it?
honestly, now looking back at it, I could have been the ones I dreamed about. They seemed like they like blowing stuff up. Like I said, they were like little Marines in my dream. Like one of them was smoking. Like your typical like 19-year-old Marines would act, you know. They enjoyed dispatching them.
Very interesting.
if I had to use my intuition, a message that was given to me while you guys were just having this back and forth was that it's become very apparent that some of the magnetic ones, humans on Earth who are awakened, um, the United States government has a protocol for engaging the others. They engage the others through a rules of escalation. This is a known about thing through UFO disclosure on a very real. What are the soldiers doing on the battlefield? Is there really rules of engagement? Yes, there are. Does the government really have this? Yes, they do. You can go look on their website. And the thing why it's important is because some of the magnetic people on Earth who can that it's naturally coming to, they're being escorted away by the technology equipment that our government has developed to control the energy on Earth. And I will just tell you, and why that's exactly what's being happening. And because there's a lot of people that talk about the escorting the energy and moving it away from us. And so I think what I'm feeling inside is that some of us that are natural magnets are having it taken away or escorted away, and it's a confusing experience.
Have you guys ever covered anybody with the MyLab experiences?
Mm, mm-mm.
Sorry, Josh, I didn't quite hear.
Have you guys investigated it or had anybody come to you with the MyLab experiences?
No, but tell us.
It's people who basically the military is controlling their experiences alongside of extraterrestrials. They have it's the whole big thing. I mean, there's conferences about it. I had pleasure of
I
interviewing people about it. It gets really deep and really dark and really scary quick.
Where do, where does it overlay with ultra terrestrials?
It's basically there's a group working with the government trying to keep the control. and not have us awaken.
Yeah, I believe that to be true in that it's evidence, the evidence of this without we don't have to get into conspiracy. The evidence is here. Black budgeted money that we program in to intelligence heads of intelligence agency. On the other side of the door, we don't know what happens with the money and we don't know who the person is marked to that. My interpretation of what is happened is that those are appointed positions by families of money, reoccurring money of wealth who know about the truth, and they may be these heads of these intelligence agencies may be part of world religions. And so what in my interpretation that the universal truth is unfolding. The goddess presented herself, said this is what's going on, and the lights in the sky in 1952 brought all of this to this head happening right here, right now in front of us. And I think that we're just like the ones, people like at the CIA, Harold Pudoff, who wrote a paper on ultra terrestrials. And we're at Stanford when Laura's dad was there in 1967, part of SRI and part of JPL. Very important that there may be something very much to that JLab stuff, you know, in like a real, like if we follow the money.
Have you guys heard the story about Valiant Thor? And
is this the person that showed up?
Yeah, at the Pentagon and was like, "Hey, if you guys just sign a peace treaty, I will give you technology, but beyond your measure. Here's my spaceship. Here's my credentials. I'm from Venus. We just want to be friends, but we have evolved past war, and you guys have to do that too." And they're like, "No, we had somebody else come and give us technology, so get back in your ship and go home." Basically, was told to him. Except the president became friends with them, and they had like some spiritual bond. There's a lady, Lauren Eisenhower, his granddaughter, talks about all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Eisenhower piece of this, I was talking to Jamie earlier about this, that this Valiant Thor Eisenhower, there's something to be explored here. And I know this in my own journey. Anybody that's following me knows that I'm a Kennedy, and I've already connected my father's DNA to Colzine Castle. Whatever the Eisenhower connection to Foo Fighters in World War II, is then given the only 5-star general. That's like when people just understand 5-star general and what that means. He was given this. And then he was given Kennedy Castle. And then the Kennedys, who are Irish as a family, went to Kennedy Castle in Scotland. And this Valiant Thor Eisenhower thing, there's something to it. There just is. And I don't know what the truth is, but it's a reoccurring theme. I
think it's because the Venetians are real.
Well, who else talked about the Venetians? Let's talk about that. Who else?
I mean, the Foo Fighters very well could have been them. His ship was, I believe, described as a saucer. He looks just like us.
Yeah, Mr. 369 himself loved to talk about the ladies from Venus, the sisters of Hathor. Chris Bledsoe's talking about Hathor, the lady of 1,000 names is her epitaph. She's come to 1,000 different cultures. So that it just overlays to me. It's just making a beautiful puzzle. To me, I'm like, hand me another piece of the puzzle, please.
Right?
Like, let's just like, okay, you found that one. That's really a strange piece. I didn't even think that was going there. Okay. You know, so the Valiant Thor, I find this Venus piece to be very interesting, right? And how it intersects with maybe consciousness. I mean, spirituality, consciousness, whatever it is, it's measurable now. we could probably view it in different forms, with different technologies. And it's confusing.
Getting this with this.
The heart.
Getting this to match with
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
then back
Yes.
together. That's why I was sitting here doing this. That's what we're trying to get
Yeah.
these guys.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'm over here in my little corner trying to do. And then trying to spread that. I mean, I don't know about you, Josh, but my big concern is that once people start really, the mainstream population, when people really start understanding, looking beyond the surface of the geopolitical stuff and start really understanding the deeper implications of things, for me, I've been walking this since I've been alive, as far as I can remember. Like, I've always felt this and seen this world this way. And I still am having a cognitive dissonance at how rapidly everything is shifting and changing. And I'm having a hard time keeping up with the old ways of doing things that I've been pretending with the ways that things really are, that I've been kind of keeping quiet, trying to merge the two. That's really difficult. I can't imagine how someone who's never danced around with any of this stuff is going to cope. And that's where I think people like us are going to be needed.
Well, this is the thing I tell people that are non-believers. Are you dumb enough to put a spoon in the ocean and say there's no sharks in my spoon, so there's no such thing as sharks? It's literally, look at the stars, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're being realists. I telling everybody I have this, like a platoon leader in combat. They're not actually doing the combat. They're observing their platoon. They're commanding the platoon. They're making sure that they're in a position like a wrestler is. They're on the balls of their feet, but they're at that phi ratio ball where they can react defensively and shoot offensively, given the right timing. And that's where I think that we're all in. It's like in wrestling practice, you don't know what's going to go on the wrestling mat. Grant Cameron in ufology and spirituality world out of Canada. We're in the football team. We're all the ones on the football team. We're in practice. We're just understanding that we're in the game now. Wait a second. I thought we were still in practice. No, you're in the damn game now. We're all in the game. And I think that that's what is kind of like how I feel like, wait a second. If we observe a little bit, that's why I keep telling you, like, we're putting it all on the line, because that's how we're putting this puzzle together. Because not one of us can put all this. It's like, as we just start hearing reoccurring themes, we'll go, well, this is what it really is, because this is what's really happening now, is what's happening, I think. Yeah. Because it's unfolding right now. We're creating it. Right? That's where we have to get to the piece of this, of it. Like today, I was telling Jamie, I was telling you, I was listening to a news reporter talk about UFO and spirituality, and talk about other news agencies and news reporters in like a negative way. And I'm like, this person hasn't figured it out yet. They haven't figured it out. The minute you find another person who goes, well, wait a second, my investigative reporting behind the scenes has found something that is like mind blowing for all. That's the ones that are just saying it's this side or that side. They definitely do not understand what's going on, because what is unfolding is universal. At least from my perspective. And so the people that are really awakened, they're going to start talking about universal things for the God-mans on earth.
Absolutely.
Maybe. Yeah. I love saying that. I love feeling. I love knowing that I feel like in my part, just telling every person that it's just what you read in the damn Christian Bible, people. It's the red words. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is within you. That means you should go inside yourself and claim your heaven. You should go
Oh,
claim your
there's
heaven,
so much missed in religion in the Bible that like nobody even thinks of. I
right? And
forget
it's
what
like
verse
these.
it is. Like, don't the one where he gets all pissed off and goes in and smashes up the church because they're taking money. And he's like, don't trust the ones that say they follow me and then collect money. But then everybody just said every Sunday.
It's right in front of us.
Right. And then we like tell that story like it's so empowering. Like Jesus came up and he flipped a table, you know, because of the church. And then we're like, here you go. Here's our money. Here's our time.
Yep.
Like, I have
And
a
then you
question.
have that whole, okay, shoot.
No, tell me what you're gonna say.
Then you have that one minister that was just like, yeah, I got a really good deal on that jet. And my friend was on hard times. So I had to buy the jet with the church money, you know? He was on hard times. That's why we take the private jet everywhere.
I saw that
Oh,
guy.
that dude looks evil too.
His eyes are lit. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so my question is more about your childhood. So how do you think that your upbringing and your parents, like how do you think that that affects your so willingness to come out and talk about this now? Like were they supportive? Did they look at you like you were nuts when you were telling them this stuff? Did they try to understand it?
I think they were kind of went with the flow. My parents were both like deadheads, so I was born in '88, so they were pretty young. I spent a lot of time with my grandfather and his friend, and they were all like vets. My grandfather wasn't, but all of his best friends were because he was, like I said, he was an extreme outdoorsman. Like he knew every spot and got along with everybody too. He's quite a character. But yeah, I spent a lot of time with them, and they were always talking about the unknown. And I think that's probably has a lot to do with it. Grew up watching a lot of old sci-fis too, like Ray Harryhausen stuff, and Sinbad.
Well, you said like your mom was kind of witchy. So like did you mean
Yeah,
like spiritual? Like what was she about? Like what did
she was an artist. She also worked a normal job, but she was really into art, a lot of Egyptian stuff too. And she had a lot of like old witchcrafty kind of books, and she was really into horror, which in the '90s they just kind of let me watch alongside them, so that kind of had a lot to do with my upbringing, I think too.
right? That's awesome. You know, that would have been helpful as a child to maybe not like necessarily be like, oh, I don't know what you're doing with or what you're doing, and like totally shut you off or say, hey, like you're going through something or you're nuts or whatever. You know, it's almost like they were just kind of letting you be you.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you just learned that from Godzilla. They kind of just brushed it off.
Yeah, but they weren't like mean to you about it. They didn't. They
Oh,
Your throat chakra is open. You're talking quite a bit.
I did go through church and was confirmed, and then kind of was like, yeah, I don't believe this. That upset my grandmother quite a bit. But then I started kind of clinging to like paganism, learned a lot about other gods and religions. And then I started seeing I told Anthony this the other day, like a lot of reoccurring characters in every religion. And then I started following that.
Anthony had his wardrobe change.
Uh, so were you raised Catholic?
uh UCC, whatever that is, so non-dominational.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
God I
yeah.
wasn't born Catholic.
Isn't
My
that
wife,
where
Catholic.
Marie goes? That's the drum circle that I go to in Eugene. That's where Kathleen and Hunter and I go to in Eugene. The same type of denomination.
Well, big thing that was different than them, they didn't believe in hell. There was no hell when Jesus uh died on the cross. He like went down and defeated Satan and released Satan, so there was like no sin for man anymore. And that the other difference was when they do the the remembrance of Jesus. I forget what it's called. It's been forever where they eat the bread and drink the
Mhm.
wine. They say that it's just a ceremony where the Catholics believe it's actually the blood of Christ. That was like the only difference, and there was no kneeling.
It's so interesting to me. Like, I was like, this is totally a ritual. And they talk about no witchcraft in the Bible. And I'm like, me as a kid, right? This is just like me, like things coming in my head. I'm like, that's a ritual.
Hey, the ritual, yeah, it is a ritual. It's yeah, it definitely is a ritual for sure.
I think there's a lot. I got a lot more into esotericism from Lost Through the Rabbit Hole. I interviewed a bunch of magic practitioners, which is what they prefer, and they've had a lot of good information. And a lot of stuff comes true to what they say. Uh, for one of my first old guests, Peter, usually lets me name drop him, had a amazing encounter with Shiva. I talked to you briefly about.
Hmm.
Yes.
And Jamie has she's had her own connection to the Kali goddess. So the Shiva and in my journey, I know something specifically about the Maitreya energy that is talked about in mysticism and esoteric circles. And the Maitreya is the joining of the Christos energy with the Buddha energy. Joining these two, and what it really looks like is, yeah, it's written out in these masculine things, but then you're talking about this Buddha and the Christos as a masculine and a feminine energy, or a right hand, left hand energy. It's always just a divided energy. It's like some sort of balancing. So to me, there's some really beautiful people getting some very individual, strange messages, but maybe connecting us all.
Absolutely.
Jamie, Kali,
Yeah.
Shiva, what's going on? Let's tell us about Kali and Shiva.
What do you want to know about Kali and Shiva? I mean,
How
What
do,
was
I had an experience with Kali. Like, I could tell you about my experience with Kali. Okay. So this one time I was going through like I started like a story. This one time, once upon a time, I was going through this hard time, and I like got to a point where I was like, I reached out to my cousin. She was a psychologist, and I was like, hey, she's like, let's go to the store called Pathways. Like, she's into all kinds of, like I thought was like witchcraft. And I was like, I'm staying away from that, even though like I was spiritual and I still had crystals and all that stuff. But if I didn't understand, I stayed away from it. But they had this bath there that was like here she is. They had a bath, and it came in like a bottle like this, and it had like a saying on the back of it. But what I noticed was it's like you call upon her whenever like you want like the big guns to come in. And I was like that's basically all I had to go off of was like this. I didn't really even know about her, right? So put it away, like months go by, I don't do, anything with it. And then I get to a point where I'm like, I literally cannot take this anymore. Like I was like, it was just so much. Like I didn't want to like harm myself, but I was like, I wanted help from God. So I made the bath, got in the bath, had no idea what the hell I was doing. Well, apparently. And then put the bath, in there. And I was just, just thinking about everything that was going on. And then I was quickly looked at the picture because as you can see, for somebody that is not familiar with Kali, they could be a little scared. So I was terrified. I was like, what the heck did I just do? I have no idea what I just did. And I couldn't like find research about her on the internet. I didn't even know like what to look up. I'm looking for, anything that looks similar to it, So I wake up the next morning and my go to Google. So I had been searching, trying to figure it out because I was freaking out. And I see that Miss Kali was blasted on the side of the Empire State Building that night that I was doing my bath by a DJ that like projected her. So I'm now in my phone. I have an array of information about Miss Kali. So then it's like, it's been like this whole long adventure, I like to say.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I
I'm like,
you
there's
guys
just
are
so
getting
much more to it.
you guys. I don't know if you guys know you got me in the flow. I don't know if you figured this out yet. I got a message from this book about so it wanted me to figure out what's going on page 66 because today's 6/6. I was married on 6/6 2022 at 11:11 and 53 seconds with 2 Lakota. One of them was from the Black Elk of the Lakota lineage. But the message wanted me to give page 66. Page 66 of this book is this Sin Q foil. Okay, and so why I think it's funny because the flower-like 5-petaled Sin Q foil imitates many plant forms, in particular such consistently female symbolic items as the apple and the rose, which were associated with the worship of the great wonders of antiquity and the worship of the ideology of Mary in the Christian era. 5 was the number officially sacred to Mary. It was also a number that was sacred to the rose and represents Venus, Aphrodite, and her temple at Hycrodules, who provide sexual demonstrations with her transcendent love, right? The sinecure foil therefore stood for sexual secrets, often used in the element of interior design in conveyed hidden meanings. So that was the esoteric message that we all produced from that.
Very nice.
Yeah. I don't know if that resonates with any of you, but that's what was given to me.
We're planting seeds.
Good way to put it.
Did you get something from that, Josh? Holy moly. You guys,
Maybe
there's something with your guys' energy. It made me do something. It has me flowing in my own journey, and I already can feel this. Cool.
When my friend saw him or her, because I don't know, the being's weird. He likes to choose different, different, you know what I mean, sexes throughout his stories. But he said, or she said to him that she wanted to show him a dance, and every place she danced, there has been a natural disaster. It started with Peru, and then the next dream he had about it was in Hawaii with Maui. And that came to fruition. This is way before he told me all this, way before it happened. First one happened in Peru was when I think in the 90s, and then the recent one was Maui, and then he had another recent one about Yellowstone.
So it can be said in some mythology that that Persephone danced 153 dances upon waves before a great cataclysm. It can be said in my own journey, the night that I called the UFOs with my family and I saw the orange fire, the Anubis shaped cloud, and then we saw the orange fireball and the pink fiery thing. I interpret that as whatever the goddess is doing, dancing. That thing was moving around so freaking excited on top of the fireball. It was moving like there was a tracer going around it, and it was like really excited. It was freaking dancing. It was not fucking around. It was dancing.
Or maybe it
And
was. Maybe it was
what?
pollinating.
Oh, it was definitely. Oh, ooh. That is Mary. That it could be something. Yeah, that sounds like something like that too. Not even. Yeah, showing me something. This thing was dancing. I'm telling you, I saw. We
That's
watched. Three of us watched something dance.
Anthony. What about Anubis again? Could you restate that part?
So I don't know if you know this part about my journey, but on my TikTok feed, I told him I'm going camping and I'm gonna try to see something this week. And so I went out with the intention of seeing something, but I've already called UFOs with my family, like gone on my porch and said, "Can I see you?" Splash, right? So I go out there and I'm drumming. This is the second night something's happening. But so I'm drumming and I'm just watching the sun go down over the thing over Diamond Peak, and there's an Anubis shaped cloud, like a dog shaped cloud just ahead of it. But because of what happened afterwards, none of us talked about the damn Anubis shaped cloud because we saw a damn orange fireball with a pink fireball go in front of Diamond Peak and then go behind Diamond Peak, then come out of behind Diamond Peak and shoot up into the air. So it's like we talked about that at the end of this, and that's where like um parts of Laura's family has had dreams about Anubis. Parts
Yeah,
of
yeah. I asked because my friend that's the magic practitioner, that's the one that saw Shiva, he has pictures of Shiva in the clouds by Peru before that hurricane or whatever happened there. And he said he sent Anubis to help protection when I was having them dreams. So that's why I was like, whoa, when you said that, because that
yeah,
like resonated
yeah.
with me.
Yeah, the Anubis piece is unfolding. I believe was it maybe Ryan Bledsoe had an experience with Anubis at his um home, I think, or Osiris. Okay, so um it may be either one of those, but Ryan Bledsoe had, and so it may be like understanding this dog star Sirius thing is unfolding. The black dog, the one, the energy that comes with the black dog star is unfolding, right? That's how I interpret it. When I hear people talk about resonating things that are reoccurring.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Why would we all be brought together and start talking about the same type of things
You
and
guys go
seeing
into
the same?
Zodiac or anything too?
Mm. Yeah, well, that's playing out when it comes to like you like understanding the the mathematical things that have been discovered about the Mayan calendar and its connection to the number 153 is, and more specifically, not the number 153, the synodic cycle 2953, the mother's cycle. Yeah, tell us what you know.
I deal a lot with the Chinese zodiac. I actually had a guest and we talked about dragon energy. I'm still trying to figure all that out because I was born the year of the dragon and it is
Mhm,
the year of the dragon. And I'm like
mhm.
thrown back my podcast.
Well, shit. I am. I'm a freaking dragon soldier. As true as true can be. I'm a retired United States Army officer. I'm a chemical corps officer, retired, and I'm a dragon soldier. And so I find this part of this game to be freaking amazing. I really do. This dragon energy part of this in my own journey, and then having other people try to well, it's running. You wouldn't be looking at it if it wasn't resonating with you, right? There's no reason for you to be looking at that. To me, I'm connecting the dragon energy of seekers and what that really means is like it's part of the blue and gold symbology of the chemical core. It's that the rugged old tree. The rugged old tree of the chemical core is the same thing that was at the Bledsoe home. In my journey, I connect symbols to like the burning tree at the Bledsoe home is the same thing as the chemical core tree on the chemical thorn next to a dragon. Like, and I connect these symbols. I don't know if other people do this with their mind. Um, but I do it because of what I've read about Jewish gematria and money. I do it because of what I've learned about Jewish gematria and money. And what symbols were made important, ancient symbols that didn't need to be written down have been made important through money. So the most important symbols on earth have the most money put into them. And it's Luke, you can use the force for good or for evil. What are you going to do? You're going to be Darth Vader? You're going to be Luke Skywalker? Where do you want to go with this? In my journey, I'm going Luke Skywalker on steroids. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to be like one of the gray ones where I want to look at everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's happening. It's happening by just being open. By just being open is doing it because and it's happening at an exponential rate. It's happening at a download rate that you can't understand. Why you can't understand? Because most people can't understand that Chris Bledsoe's talking to the president, sending notes to the Pope, and also saying the things are going into the sky. They have a sun. They have a relationship with the sun. Like, holy moly, this is like DNA changing stuff, right?
I made a joke this week. I will throw it out at you guys. This is about our society. Let's say you guys seen the movie District 9 where aliens crash here and we're like, we have to deal with them. I was saying if
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
situation like that, we're going to lose all of our good sci-fi movies because they're just tasteful.
Right, right.
No more chest bursters. Star Wars. What was that? Look at Jawas. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, I know. It makes things go like, what the heck were we thinking?
What we were
Yeah.
doing is we were talking to ourselves the whole time. We were telling ourselves the truth the whole time. That's all of our art, all of our accomplishments is our different voices of us being like, hey, are you paying attention? This is like not imagination. This is real. This is like real stuff.
Yeah, and at the end of it, Shelly, the real stuff is like you have Timothy Taylor that's associated with the Bledsoe family coming into their life on a investigative government way, but is getting patents for, receiving stuff from the others and then getting patents for physical healing technologies of cancer. And then you have Gary Nolan doing the same thing, right? He's working at Stanford, literally working with Dr. Jacques Vallée, talking about what they did with AI back in the 70s, not today, in the 70s, secretly. And so like that is like, and this person's getting patents on cancer stuff. So all I see is like, my gosh, they really are unfolding with healing stuff.
I had the pleasure of interviewing Howard Hughes's main assistant's son, who is the main director of MUFON of California. And there's this stuff did he tell me about the bases under the desert to them collecting samples from clearly stuff that we did not create. I don't know if you know anything about him, but he was a complete germaphobe, so he never left his mansion. So he sent out my friend's mom back in the day to do
Mhm.
these investigations. And yeah, they're right up there because it's where all of our aircraft is coming from still is Lockheed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think yeah, all of that is gonna come out. It's all coming out. I mean, it's just like, and it I think part of our mission is understanding there's some sort of there's a reoccurring spiritual thing that we can all feel inside of us, and it's like really try to hard to interpret because we have our own trauma, we have our own lens, and then reality's really unfolding is like I'm actually in the fucking stream with you. I'm like not in. I can't. I'm not the lifeguard, and then it's like, wait a second,
I
we're
like
actually the
that.
one. Right, we're actually the ones. We may not be the lifeguards, but we've actually we've clinged on to like the mud clumps on the side of the thing, and we've actually started to kind of like climb out of the stream. Like we're like,
Yeah.
okay, guys, I think it's this way out of this stream. Like, and I think that's kind of what's going on.
Yeah, I can
Which
totally relate with even with the title of my show is like a little tiny hole I was in with an alien and Bigfoot and some ghosts, and now there's dragons and there's fairies and now there's dogmen and now the government's involved. Now there's stuff in our oceans you have no idea about.
yes, yes,
Then you start getting
and
into the inner earth and
and somehow in your investigation you're still talking about it in like, well, I guess in a positive way. And me, I interpret that as like, seems like there's some chaos. Right, and some of us dance in chaos.
I was a punker in my 20s, so
We're gonna be okay with an elbow to the face or one to the rib. We'll be okay with that, right?
right.
Me, it looks an awful lot like everyone dreaming coming into reality. Like everyone's
Mm.
asleep, but they're walking around and like their dreams are just kind of popping into our reality. Because I mean, that's what it feels like every time I turn around every day. It's like some new thing that you're like, oh, that's a thing now. Oh, that's a thing now. And they were
Yeah,
all
I'd like
that weren't that weren't things except for in fantasy or in dreams or in movies or so it feels it looks pretty damn surreal to me in a very giggly funny kind of way.
and it's sad. I honestly think at one point in time we were all like this to begin with. We were seeing all these other beings. Like I said, the Greeks literally talk about the werewolves feeding them in the in like all the Olympics, that they were way more, they weren't warring, they weren't killing each other. They came to compete with us.
Yeah.
Hopefully in this
um
lifetime we'll be back like that. Sorry, Anthony, I
I'm
cut you off.
I'm having another idea. First of all, Shelly, I wanted to ride that thread through the eye of the needle with you. And immediately when I saw that, is that when you look at a pin uh organically, the eye is actually a vesica, which is the mother's portal. It's not an eyeball. And it's the thread of the eye of a needle is with the needle standing up, going penetrating in and out is up and down. It's not an eye. It's the mother's eye. It's her vesica eye. I just never thought about that before, and I just thought about it. I don't know if you ever thought about that.
I had
I
one.
eyes are
Sorry.
portals. That's why when we talk, that's why it's so important for us to look into each other's eyes when we're speaking about things that are really important. And
Triple portal.
uh-huh,
Triple portal.
uh-huh. Your two
No,
eyes and your
no,
third eye.
no. In the thing of a needle, in the thing of a needle. The ancient texts talk about through the eye of a needle, right? Through the eye of a needle. Well, you have to have three eyes. So you have the right eye, the left eye, and you have the mother's eye, the portal, the thing that we're talking about, this thing about getting to the portal, the moment of portal, the O moments, the eye is what it means. Is what I just feel like that is so important. It's beyond.
We're just
It's,
dropping this
it's
on Josh. He's like, what the heck?
The O.
No, I agree. I actually, in my symbol, there's an eye above the gray.
yeah. Well, I'm just like one of many of the other experiences that I've read about. I had lots of intersection. One of the things that I was shown, being taught, and then being asked what I wanted to do at some point during my experiences was like, play love energy with feminine energies, uh, feminines. A lot of play love energy in lots of different forms. And so I guess I interpret that now is helping me understand that the energy that they were showing, these little blue things that, Chris Bledsoe's talking about the blue things. That's what brought us together, was talking about these little blue aura things. And they were taking me to love energy and helping me show me creation of earth with huge trees and lots of insane technology, like technology to remove dams, but also have clean water, and also technology to remove like energy, change energy, change it, not remove, change.
Oh,
Changing of energy, exchanging of energy, utilizing what they've given us to be good for us, not to harm us. I don't know. I do know. I do. I don't know. I do know. Yeah, I do. Because it's a reoccur. I didn't. Anybody that gets a macro level lens can see the same darn thing. We're all coming together because we've looked out enough and seen that, like, the Greek mythology is the indigenous mythology. Holy moly.
yeah, it's wild how many mythologies just bleed into each other and just have the same repeating story.
So
And
that means we're
Hinduism gets,
creating one.
right? Hinduism gets wild. They talk about the ships in the sky.
Yes. Perhaps there's some value into that. I personally believe that the artistry and the world mythologies and world religions around UFOs probably mean something. I believe that our American lens, well, it's just been made very apparent that we've been shown a certain way, and as soon as you get the global humanist view, like thing is unfolding for humans, then you understand that the exact type of lens that we look at, like, oh my gosh, look at what's going on in North Korea to those people. They're all being dictated this way. Look at those people over in China. They're all being What about those Americans?
Right?
What about
And
those
it's funny.
Americans?
I'm on a British show, TV show every week, well, podcast, and they're having all the same problems we are, and it's like, why are you guys so broke? Where are all these immigrants coming from in England? What? Why is your election the same day as my election? Huh?
Yeah. Oh, and where do those dates align with moon cycles and ancient things happening on those dates throughout collective human history? That's something to be very much explored, because we don't do things. We do things on very specific dates that have ancient meanings, like Easter, just like the root word of Easter is like Esther. It's like Aster. It's
But then you
Asherah's
get
pole.
real deep in that, and then you realize there's a bunch of fraternities that's been around forever.
Yes. Yeah. And just like parts of the Lakota have the spiritual truth, parts of the Cherokee have spiritual truth, parts of the Hopi, all of these indigenous. Guess what? Some of these fraternities have it too. I tell everybody it's pretty neat. Yep, good for them. Let's tell everyone. Let's tell everyone. Well, this has been a really good conversation. I don't know how long we're going to talk. We out talked the ladies. We already did it. We don't even care. I had to go put this shirt on. I want to get a close up of it so Jamie can put it in the podcast. I did one of my first podcasts that I did was out of the UK. They asked me what image I wanted to have on the front of it, and I said there was some sort of synchronicity. Oh, they were surprised that I knew what the image was from, and I was like, you don't understand. I just went to the White Mountains in New Hampshire to go look at the Betty and Barney Hill incident on the indigenous land, because I wanted to feel like what is going on with this indigenous land, these granite mountains, and very real UFO CIA files, right? And I think that's the one that the Obama documentary that he's going to help fund or help produce, probably maybe even with Steven Spielberg. Something with Universal Truth is coming out. That will be at a very happy rate for African Americans.
There's a second ET coming out.
Yeah, well, there's
Spielberg
there's something connected to the Betty and Barney Hill that may be directed at African Americans specifically, and it would be like me advocating for veterans. It would mean that much that I think that they're going to reveal that we may have been doing things with African American people or with our own technology.
Just look. Do you follow any combat sports?
Yeah. Well, I've gotten really interested in this Mike Tyson thing that's going down. They got this Mike Tyson combat thing, the UFC stuff. I do follow a little bit, but not a lot. Tell me what you got.
Last year there's been this name. He's from Colombia, but he, came here as an immigrant, but he's never been knocked out. And they did a study on him, and his skull is harder than everybody else's. And his file from Cuba was that the Cuban government did experiments on this baby before his mother fled with him to the U.S. And nobody's been able to knock him out in the UFC. Nobody. And like I said, he's
Cuba.
got a sticker. Oh, yep.
Cuba. Yeah. Interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah.
It's UFC made it public knowledge that that's why he's not been knocked out, because he's had something altered in his DNA when he was a child.
Ultra-terrestrials is what we should be thinking about. And however that is playing out, I feel confident enough to say that, it's playing out. I mean, I feel confident enough to say, and then I also say it in this way too. Go ahead.
What does ultra terrestrial mean?
Well, I think I think that there's been some papers written on it, but maybe genetic modifying or manipulating of your DNA or whatnot. But what I would really want to, if I was to say this, is that in my own journey, when I hear people talk about like that, maybe some sort of connecting thing, is that what if it was something that was known about? Like, what if it's like we're doing it this way now, but what if like everything that they're talking about in these ancient mythologies, you have to build the energy. The Christos energy has to be built. The charisma energy around has to be built. It's a charisma energy. It's an energy that's built in love. It can also be built in aggressive force, but it takes a lot more energy to build it in aggressive force, which is what we have. We have a world now centered around aggressive energy, centered about aggressive energy exploiting Mother Earth, taking from her. And we have an ability to take energy from another point. So the ultra terrestrials is something that's created. What if it's a reoccurring feature? And if we were to worry about, if we just encourage people to, is there any ancient mythology that shows insane technology on a level that we have now that shows it like definitive? No, there isn't. But let's just say we are one. Well, then what would that look like? And I think that's what we're living in, is that we've exceeded the standard. We've achieved something. That's what I gain. That's every time I come to this conversation with people, I feel like we've achieved something. Like we're birthing, we're a new child, a new us, a new beautifulness. I'm excited about it. You guys got my flow going. Shelly asked ultra terrestrials. It gets me going. Give us more, Josh. Are you done? Is it out? Is it all the way out?
No, the other thing I kind of had to add just randomly in there is my son actually got a UFO picture or a video. So it's like clearly generational thing that's happening. What he got, it looks like a ball light. I have to do an interview with him. It happened about a year ago and put it on. But yeah, he was just like, yeah, Dad, look at this.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so now you've experienced well, it's just kind of strange because you know that it's generational now. It's a knowing for you, right? Yeah. And so somebody else recently, Kirsten, her daughter just recorded one. And so maybe there's just, I guess I could probably say in my own journey that it's going to allow itself to really be filmed in a different way now. It seems like we're doing that now. We're doing that now. Wow.
I was gonna say
How
too
neat.
about your latest video. I've interviewed a bunch of people from MUFON. Apparently, there's a bunch of schools this happened at, not just the one in Africa.
I am very positive of that. It makes
hear me?
it. Yeah, I can hear you.
I lost you in my headphones.
Oh, I got you. Schools in Africa, many other schools, probably yes, probably many other schools, and it seems like we can hear you.
Hello.
Hi.
Laura, to come to the
How's it
meeting,
going? What'd you say?
will you be joining us in the tent tonight?
Yes, I'm sorry I missed it last time. I will.
That's okay. You can miss it whenever you do, please.
She's like, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. Laura, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'll be good now.
There's
I'll be a
respect.
good. I'll
He's
I'll
getting
be a
spanked.
good lady of the red tent.
Well, I told my mom I was gonna, so I have to now.
Oh, we got to get Laura's mom on the red tent. She
Can
would
she come?
love to talk. Oh my gosh, she would
Can she
love
come
it
tonight?
too. Oh, if you give me the link, I'll send it to her. She'll go. She's
And
like,
Josh, your wife too.
Yes, Josh. I was just gonna say thank you, Jamie.
Mhm.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Or girlfriend or whatever, like whatever you got
I'm
going
so
on.
happy to see her. They were wondering where
You
she
hear me?
was.
Yeah, I don't know. She's pretty camera shy.
She doesn't have to turn
try.
it on. She doesn't even have to talk. She can just listen and be a part of
Sometimes we just talk to a blank screen and voices come out, and it's great.
Yeah.
it.
So,
But if I'll send you some stuff and maybe you could send it to her. She might enjoy it.
will do.
okay,
Especially
so
having a space where you can talk about like your experience, like you were like, okay, I'm just going to put all the cards out there, is trying to create more and more spaces like that where people can share their authentic experiences, human experiences, because so many of us have had weird shit happen and none of us talk to each other about our weird shit because somebody's going to make fun of us or somebody's going to tell us it was imagination or
Her family's seen shit too her entire life, and she's seen orbs and stuff, and it's constant in our house.
well, if you guys are together, I figured that
Yeah.
you know she'd been experiencing too. So having a place where she can share with other people that are like-minded and that where it's safe. But also, I mean, it's just ladies talking with ladies about that and other things for ladies.
Yeah,
She might have
definitely.
been
Send it
waiting
to me. I'll give it
probably
to her.
people who identify as ladies too.
And we haven't encountered that yet, but we'll see how that develops as it goes.
I'm waiting until Anthony puts a dress on and tries to get him.
Well, Maria and I, the whole comedy scene that I'm in is all trans, and most of them identify as female. And Marie has just intersected with another trans person that's in it's just so strange. It seems like there are a lot of them in what the indigenous called twin spirited people in this UFO realm. There is
I
a lot
actually
of them.
interviewed one on my first show. It was a Palladian cedar,
Yep.
if you're familiar with that term.
Me, and I've been telling the trans communities that I'm in, the trans communities that I've intersected with, I've been telling them, like, it seems like what they got going on is indicative to some of the energy or some of the things that people are awakening to this phenomena. They're having some of the same reoccurring feelings, or it's this euphoria, dysphoria about what I'm a human in this form, and yet I'm having all of these, and I don't understand it, and you're trying to figure it out. So there's some overlap that I think the mythologies want us to understand. This seems to be reoccurring.
It's a
Yeah.
has to do with the masculine and feminine energies being out of balance.
I also
Any
gotta say you have to put in like Operation Butterfly and like just the stuff the CIA was doing in the 80s, the subliminal, just even like I don't know about you guys who grew up in the 90s, how like different our culture was, and it's literally somebody controlling all of that, or it was, and now it's kind of I think like a Wild West since the YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah. Remember when, like in the 90s, when guys were wearing really short, cut off shorts? Yeah, I remember that. Like, and long hair and just like really strange. Like, we were really strange for a while, were we
Well,
not?
I was a punker, so like I was always like the strange,
Oh,
and
God.
it would piss my dad off so bad, and I'd just like, you are into hair metal at my age. You have no place to say anything about my colorful hair.
I'm gonna go make me some cutoffs.
Oh my
I'm-
lord.
It's 11:11.
We got Daisy on
Okay.
our hands now.
I'm gonna
Shelly.
go make me some Daisy Dukes, and I'm gonna wear them. I have my ass cheeks sticking out the back of them. Roller skating.
I'm just gonna tell you right now, my first husband.
She said it like a mom and everything. I'm just gonna tell you right now.
My first husband. Beautiful, wonderful man. But he wore Daisy fucking Dukes. Sorry. But he wore Daisy Dukes with like the little, like the little, how it's all like shredded or tasseling, everything with a belt, with
Ooh.
his shirt tucked in,
Mm.
with sandals.
What the fuck?
Is he from Eugene?
Oh heck.
He
You're
didn't-
giving me a costume idea. I'm gonna wear that just for you. I'm
Shelly,
gonna
this
wear
is
that
why we
for
need to
you.
talk less. We're getting
PT
these ideas, by the way.
PTSD.
I know you're gonna have to ride that bull.
No, it was one of those like fashion choices where I just kept looking at it. I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything, but this is kind of interesting. And that would be probably, that was mid-90s.
Okay, well, we have it recorded now, and I might wear. You might see me in something like that. I'm just saying, and we might create a trend with it. Like,
Please, for the love of God, no.
I think he would.
I'm still part of the tracksuit mafia. It drives my wife mad.
The track
that's
suit,
hot.
not bad.
Yeah.
Like when you do the full get up.
Sometimes it's usually just the Adidas pants with t-shirt. That's like
Yeah.
something about aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what a lot of people do.
I'm gonna bring back. I'm gonna say that's freaking hot. I'm gonna bring that. I'm gonna say every time a guy says something, I'm gonna say that's freaking hot, dude. That looks sexy on you. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna start doing
You're
that.
gonna be
I'm just gonna
Paris.
start saying that's so hot. That looks sexy on you. I bet you look sexy in that. You go. I'm just gonna start doing that now. I'm gonna bring my divine feminine out and just like encourage everybody to fly whatever you think you're gonna wear tracksuits. Please do that. Does that bring out more UFOs? Like, please do that.
That's interesting. I want. We don't have the data on what people are wearing when they see UFOs. That's interesting.
It's like every time I wear a 3-striped Adidas track, I collate all the energy of my 3 stripes into the UFO trinity of love. That's what I think about it when you tell me that.
Girls operate a little differently. So yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I could do something like that.
Okay. Well, have we podcasted out today? This is our unique blend of a podcast. It's not real. It's just more like a long session.
Right on. I like it. I dig it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
pretty
about the
much.
headphones. Weirdly enough, the guy I was just talking about called with the MyLab.
Oh gosh.
Well, they were listening to you, Josh.
Yeah. Everything about the MyLab is probably. Well, I guess it's ultra terrestrials. It's Harold Pudoff. It's that paper. When people understand Harold Pudoff was there when Laura's dad was there at freaking Stanford. It doesn't matter that. It matters that like what they were doing there. Consciousness and super energy, super high people that is in the same UFO pattern. Why that matters to us? It was that page 66 in that book, Venus. Nikola Tesla, 369, Venus, listening to Venus people, and Harold Pudoff, and these people at Stanford with UFO technology, but making this energy happen and getting knowledge from these
Then
others.
you got to look at the esoteric stuff too, and like
Yeah.
what's his name? The guy who's L. Ron Hubbard. He was part of Crowley's crew, and if you look at Crowley's guy he was talking to, looks like a gray.
Yeah.
He's got all these paintings of the being that he was channeling, and it looks like a gray.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just reoccurring themes and people interpretations. What I think some of the negative or strange interpretations is because it's very clear to me that people are given very negative experiences. They are, just like very negative mushroom experiences, just like driving down the road and all of a sudden you're living the dream, and then next thing you know, you're like deformed and mangled up for the rest of your life experience because you chose that algorithm. This algorithm is like doing things all multiple levels, and it's complex, but it only affirms how God-mans we are, each one of us. Every one of them affirms that if we go inward, we all find that we're the same. We're seeking the same. There may be somebody that may be a little bit ahead of us or somebody behind it. It doesn't matter. That why would that even matter if we're all dancing in the same circle?
Right.
Right? Yeah. That's why we're here. Okay, guys. Hey, Josh, you're gonna let me know when you want me to come on your podcast.
Absolutely.
Just yeah,
The whole crew's invited too if they want.
you guys want to come on and do it. You give it to us your way,
Okay.
or if you want to do it like with this, we should do it like this. It doesn't even matter.
Okay, that's usually how I do it, and then my wife edits it, and we put pictures and sound and stuff in it. My friend does typical skeptic, and his style is he's trying to be like bring Coast to Coast back. He's redoing Art Bell's Mantle, and I'm trying to be like X-Files.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love
Yes.
it.
Good. Excellent. Okay. Well, great. We'll
It was
do
nice
that
to
then.
meet you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Peace. It's been awesome meeting you all.
Yeah. Amazing. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Quack, quack, quack.
Bye.